It's now my pleasure to call upon Mr. Msizi Gwala. And he's coming, he is a project director at SAICA, and he's going to be touching on the responsible use of AI and digital ethics for young public sector professionals. He's a project director in regards to public sector thought leadership at SAICA. He is also the project director in SAICA's Ethics Standards and Public Sector Unit, responsible for research, insights, and thought leadership. His areas of research and specialization extend from the public sector to include people, processes, and technology developments. He's worked on SAICA's latest competency framework that seeks to redefine the future of the chartered accountancy profession, beyond the numbers into value creation, digital competence, ethical decision-making, and problem-solving. He has a background in academia, having contributed to the University of Zululand's SAICA accreditation project and lecturing advanced auditing. Let's give him a round of applause.
Thank you. Hopefully you can hear me. You're following that act, Petunia. Ha. Yes. I don't know if I can walk up and down. It was very nice. I really thoroughly enjoyed it. It was personal. It was entertaining at times. It was real. I was so captivated. And honestly, sitting there, all I was thinking was, what am I going to do? How can I, so I've already started. Hopefully, I'm already entertaining. So thank you very much. My name is Msizi, and I'm going to be talking about AI and ethics in AI. I heard earlier there was a question. I think the panel earlier also responded to it nicely. I think without a shadow of a doubt, we see a lot of opportunities from where we stand in terms of what you and everyone else is going to do. But of course, there's a bit of work and investing of time, learning, and so that you can adjust and be ready for what will come. I think what is certain is that the role profile is going to change. Whether it changes now or it changes 5 years down the line for you or 10 years, it's going to change. What we do encourage, and you'll see, I'll touch on it hopefully, is that you get yourself ready. So I'm going to try and time myself, Chair, so I'll see how I do for time. So when I was trying to think about how to approach this conversation, one of the things I realized is that it's a bit difficult, especially to align it to the theme of this summit, because I think there's a lot of opportunities that we need to explore when it comes to the wonderful world of AI, but also digital technologies. But I think it's also important that we focus on the ethical concerns that surround it. So I'll try to entice you around the opportunities, lots and lots of opportunities, but I'll also just try to stick to some of the ethical concerns that we have. So one of the main things that you will see or hear about, if you follow, and I'm hoping that at least there will be some seed that is sparked in some of you. Don't mind my cap. I know we're not supposed to wear hats in Endlini, but I saw there's at least 2 people with their hats. So, and I heard there was a light here, so I was just trying to manage the risk of that light. So one of the things that you'll always hear about Uguti, there's a lot of value that stands for us to reap in the wonderful world of AI. And I think I've done a bit of research on behalf of SAICA. I've been involved in a number of AI projects. And by the way, everyone is keeping on talking about what you can do. I'm actually in public sector at SAICA. But when there's an AI project, they know to call my name because it's something that I've just developed a passion for. I could have stuck around in public sector and do my normal public sector stuff. But a long time ago, someone told me about all of these things that are happening. I just decided, you know what, this is interesting. There's an opportunity here. And I'm one of the people that I think can speak around the topic and what's happening. So it's up to you really what you want to do with your life. You don't have to be restricted to whatever that you are doing currently in your internship. Okay, so there's a lot of value that we stand to gain. There's some big numbers that are thrown around. You'll hear trillions and trillions of rand depending on who you look at. Of course, I don't think we are going to compete. If you follow anything on AI with America and China, there's something happening there. So we may not compete there, but I think even where you are, there's a lot of value that you can create, whether it's for your employer today or tomorrow, or for yourself or for your new business that you might start tomorrow. Certainly, there's a lot of things, and I think I will encourage you to just explore. Don't only hear about it or don't only use it on Meta AI. I think some of you may be familiar with it, but explore what exactly is happening behind the scenes with all of this AI development, and you will see there's a lot of opportunities that are waiting out there. You will know, you'll talk about the budget tomorrow. The purse is shrinking, someone said earlier, but there are other purses that are developing, that are waiting for us to take on. Okay? I'm not going to dwell too much on all of those things, but I think one of the things that I wanted you to reflect on, I'm assuming that a lot of us are already using AI, yes? Somehow. Yes? All right. So you may be using it for your personal reasons. I've heard some people are compromising the integrity of education as well, so don't do that if you are still studying. You may be using it on social media. You may be using it in your banking app. Maybe you don't even know it, or it may be using you rather. Because if you are not using it, it's going to use you. So there's a lot of ways that you could be using it. So I think what I would like you to take away from this slide is to reflect on how you are interacting with AI. I think a lot of people may, in fact, do interact with it, but they don't even know what it is. And in that way, it is using you because it needs to collect data points. And you are the data point. And like I said, there's a lot of money or value that we stand to gain or create out of that. So don't only be a user of it, see if there are opportunities for you to use it as well. Okay, so I actually wanted to put up an illustration, and we're going to talk about how some people could be using it. When I go into I think this was the Edge. And if you go on there and you want to ask anything, in fact, I had asked for Meta AI, and what Microsoft does is that it kicked out the search that I asked for, which is Meta, but it actually also gave me its option to say you can actually use Copilot, and you don't have to go to Meta AI. So what's happening is that the search industry or the search sector as you know it, and I'm sure maybe some of you may know that that's how Google made most of its money. Google is one of the richest companies. It made its money through search. So AI is redefining search, right? What you know, what you find, what you look for will be defined by AI. It's important that you understand, especially in this room, you understand how there's an opportunity to re-engineer how society works, but also understand the ethical responsibilities that are out there that not a lot of people are really talking about, because if you search for something, you'll be given something else. And if you just take it as it is, can you understand that they've altered what you are trying to do or how you are going to do something? So that is important to understand how search works, where Google made most of its money, and how this is going to be redefined going into the future. But also importantly, where the opportunities are and where the ethical concerns are. Okay, I don't know, I want to walk down as well and do something, but this is just a short case study that I want you to reflect on based on where you currently are. So you're an intern currently working in whatever institution that you are working in, and you kind of know about the technologies that are out there. Maybe not so much your supervisors and your managers, but you actually know that if you look, the honest truth is that I could plug in a budget document in there or tender documents in there, and it could literally read everything, summarize everything for me, and I can give that to my manager, and you know what? Most managers will be impressed. That's the truth. If I was a young person, I think, I can't remember who, I can't remember who it was, but they said, if I was a young person, one thing I would be doing was explore these things. You might not know for sure where it's going to end up in the next couple of years, but certainly I encourage you to explore, find out what's there. However, there has to be a however. See, this is where the conflict between opportunities and entrepreneurship and ethics come. You cannot compromise confidential government information. In fact, you cannot compromise any information, not just government, even your own, right? So here's the problem. Yes, you must certainly explore all of these things out there. There's a lot that we can do, but you need to tread carefully. You cannot put in there confidential, Petrina was talking about it earlier. You cannot put confidential information. The best thing that you can do, go to publicly available information that you can use because you are exploring. Whatever is publicly available that you were not given because you are an intern at organization X or municipality Y, that you can certainly play around with to see what it is that you can do. Certainly, so you can, so like I said, plug in whatever that you want into whatever model that you are using or your model of choice, and you can impress your managers. But however, we need to realize the risks and the concerns around that. Can anyone think of the risks and concerns why you should not be giving your information to any one of these models, publicly available models? I mentioned there DeepSeek as well, which was based in China, because there's a lot of politics around who you should trust. But my view is that you shouldn't trust anyone unless it's developed by your municipality or yourself with the authority of your IT department. Don't trust anyone. It's government data. It is confidential data. That's where it ends. What risks or ethical concerns do you see if you load information into a ChatGPT, as an example? This is where you need the mic. There's my partner in crime. Anyone?
Greetings. Sorry, what was the question again?
The question is, if you load information, maybe you've been asked to summarize some tender documents or budget, and you load that information into ChatGPT, which can give you in inverted commas, great summary for your manager and write a report for you. What is the risk or concern?
Okay, at the moment I can only think of two. So sometimes AI generates false or misinformation. The second one is data privacy. So, example, POPI Act or anything that might be discreet will then be available for other people to even be able to access.
All right. No, that's 100%. We're not going to go into the technicalities, but your answers are spot on. Anyone else? Anyone else? Okay. No, we can move on. So there's a number of reasons why we should not be going into. He wants to speak. Let's give him a chance.
Greetings, everybody.
Yeah.
So when I think about it, if you put information onto such databases, firstly, they are not private at all. So that means that somebody else can access your information, which then you can break confidentiality. And then that goes back to you as a CA or somebody in finance, that now you are breaking your CPC conduct. So therefore, with that information being accessible by somebody else who didn't need it, you might compromise your organization. Thanks.
100%. And I think it's absolutely critical that we remember that, number one, government probably has the biggest secrets of all of us, right? It's absolutely critical. They have everything on you, me, and the next person. So we cannot, even if you think it's just this document or just that document, if it's an internal document, don't even try. Okay, so there are a lot of things, there are a lot of other risks that I'm not going to go into in detail here, but there's how these systems are being engineered is altering how we live. If you look at the deepfake issue that we have, they can show you something that is not. So imagine if you continue to feed information about your municipality and they can create a deepfake that understands exactly what's going on at Umzimkhulu municipality or Umkhanyakude, right? And they create a deepfake that understands and can go and defraud people in that region. Okay, so you've got things like biases. I think someone said it hallucinates as well. It creates false information. And one good thing about it is that it is so good. It is so good. I'm English second language, and that thing can write better English and make me think that, you know what, this is right, and I don't know anything. And like you said earlier, if we're already falling into the trap of thinking accounting is going away, and so AI knows better, then you're just obviously going to fall into that and say, what I know, or the little that I know, is nothing. This is what I'm going with. So one of the things that you obviously need to be sure about is that you still know your domain, your technical domain. Yes, what you do and how you do it will change. Over the next years, it will change, but what you know is important, and it's here to stay. I think what is important also is then identify where or how do you fit in all of these things. Okay. All right, so in terms of responding to some of the risks, you need to understand. I think, again, here it's trying to, if you can move yourself an inch and a half from being a user only to starting to understand anything around what's happening, even if you just follow if you are into politics, the China versus USA developments. A couple of weeks ago, I was listening to one of the senators in America responding to China. It is the most fascinating, if you're into drama, you must listen to that guy. It's Senator Ted Cruz, his opening remarks on what America is going to do with regards to AI. Fascinating, but not fascinating good, just like fascinating as in entertaining, like shocking. It's all of those things. So you need to understand the underlying challenges that surround AI, data quality, the issues around data, especially from a South African context. We're saying to you now, don't compromise our data. But there's some data that is being used to inform what you are going to get as an output when you type out whatever you do. So understand those biases and those models, that they are not your friend, actually. Until you develop your own, or we find ways of developing our own, they are not your friend. So always be cautious, because what informs them, we cannot really trust. In the South African context, we have our own problems. We've got both Eskom and Transnet. So when you're looking for something on state-owned entities, understand that they might not have that information on Transnet and Eskom. So they will give you information that is not relevant. In South Africa, we've got a very unequal society, right? So that what they give you might be based on one or the other. All right. One other thing that we encourage is critical thinking. I think there was a strong mention of soft skills. I don't know if they are still soft, but they are very hard from my perspective. But there are these skills or competencies that are often ignored. Fortunately, they are being more and more built into our academic programs around how you should be doing things, what you should be doing, not based on content, but how things are now working. So things like critical thinking, think critically about what's happening in the wonderful world of AI. It's exciting, it's a lot. I think, if anything, if you are worried about what you're going to do after you finish your internship and you are not hired, hopefully you get absorbed, first of all. If that's what you want, that's great. But if not, there are so many opportunities in this world. There's something that is called AI agents. You can look it up and see what's happening. It's the new buzzword, if we can call it that, and it promises to create more opportunities. And if you can understand what that is and work on that, of course, you're going to need to have some technical computing skills, but you can learn that. You are still young, hopefully. There's also an opportunity to keep humans on the loop always. You know, I interact with a lot of experts, and everyone keeps saying there needs to be a human, because this thing can be out of control. It can do its own things. So at all times, there needs to be some kind of human intervention, monitoring, etc. Even if it's just you reading what it says and then saying, no, this is actually nonsense, I can write something better. Okay, for the sake of time, I'm going to move on, but you must understand that there are things that you need to do. You cannot just use AI because it is available and it can probably do it quicker or faster. What I would want you to do, though, is, because you're an intern and you actually can shape the future, you know, they are not lying when they say that. You will define where the future goes, in your municipality, in your life, in your family, etc. So I encourage you to internalize and think about this and try to advocate for the use or responsible use of AI in your environment, however you do it. Even if worst case scenario, they say, no, we don't know what you're talking about. You will have learned some skills there of trying to advocate and negotiate for improvements or better ways of doing things. Because you can see, I know you are smart, you can see, this is taking too long. Surely there's a better way to do this, right? But you now have the responsibility to try and shape where this thing goes. Another thing that's important to understand is we can talk about using AI, but until your municipalities, government fully embraces its use, and the ecosystems and the infrastructure, we're currently struggling with infrastructure, I know, roads and etc. There's a whole other tech infrastructure that is out there that is still a challenge, that has not been touched. No one is talking about it. And it's probably one of the reasons why, in fact, one of America's responses is infrastructure for technology. That's how they're going to win the next global domination. Okay, so those kinds of things will only start with people like yourselves being participating actively. So I'm going to conclude with the next 6 slides by talking about what principles that I think you should follow when it comes to managing this wonderful world of technology. It's important that you understand, I think it needs to align with your personal values. There's no other way. So I'll touch on, I think, what is adapted from our 5 fundamental principles in the accounting profession. But certainly, I'm hoping that they align to your own personal values as well. So the first one, or the first 2 rather, is integrity and objectivity. So when we talk about integrity, I'm hoping that none of this is new to you or is news to you. When we say that we need to have integrity, or your work needs to have integrity, so whatever that you do, whatever that you are trying to do in your working environment, you need to make sure that you credit where you have used AI. I'm hoping that no one really uses it unless it's authorized. But where you have used it, let's say you have been asked to do something outside of your work environment. When you have used AI, you need to say, your work needs to speak on your behalf. I think we spoke about personal brand. So an interesting thing to say is your work needs to speak for you. It needs to show that you actually pay attention to quality and credible work. You also need to understand that there's the algorithms where you have used AI, no one is really certifying if it's right or wrong. And you don't want to be associated with work that is not going to be or rather that is not credible. Someone mentioned earlier that the thing does hallucinate, so we need to be careful about that. One thing I think that is important is that we need to be objective when it comes to the use of AI. I struggle with this personally as well, because sometimes it does things so quickly. And again, sometimes it looks very credible. I can be deceived to thinking, hang on, I think this is better than what I can do. But if you really are going to be objective enough to look at what you do, what you know, and what it can do, then you'll be able to see that that's not necessarily the case. So also understand that there are biases in the data that is used. Like I said, in fact, all of these are trained in Western countries mainly, or else in the East. Another thing is they use information that is on the internet. Most of the information that's on the internet is not African, certainly not South African. So you need to understand those biases in the data that is used to train these systems, and then be sure that when you are doing what you are supposed to be doing, you are objective about how you are using it and the ways that it needs to take you forward. Another thing that we are strong on, to the question earlier, again, that was asked around professional competence and due care. We are not because we want your membership fees, certainly not, but we want to make sure that you are fit for the future. We cannot continue to have increasing unemployment. What we see is an opportunity. So what we are encouraging our members and trainees to do is to make sure that they keep abreast with what's happening, because we believe that there will be more of an opportunity more than anything. Yes, it will be different what we are doing, certainly, but we want our members to make sure that they are keeping up with what's going on. SAICA tries to involve themselves with all the projects, or not all, but any project that is talking to AI, so we make sure that our members are ready for whatever will be coming, and we have the foresight to explain to them what is coming. So what I will ask you to do is decide what skills will you need, or what competencies will you need in the wonderful world of AI, of course, and then try to work on those. Try to develop yourself. we take professional competence and due care such that we believe that if a member is supposed to have known or understood AI or AI-related knowledge, and they don't, that is a breach of their ethical responsibilities, because we have a responsibility to serve the public. If you are found not to have been upskilling yourself, someone mentioned earlier, I think, continued professional development. It's something that is your responsibility to do as a professional. So as a professional in public sector, as a young professional in public sector, it's something that I encourage you to get used to. Okay, and then extend this to your teams. If you are in a group of interns, you can start something informal. It doesn't have to be a memo that's submitted, etc. Start something informal. Start a social group. Of course, remember the key principles, not to compromise, especially your data that belongs to the employer. But start something informal. Have a conversation. See if you can't find something on YouTube. There's a lot of information on YouTube, or an informal course. It's only 200 rand sometimes. Do something and upskill yourself and see what skills you can get out of it. I promise you, you will not lose anything. If anything, you will stand to gain. There's a lot of opportunities that are there. Okay, again, going back to the underlying models, that's where most of the opportunities are, not in us being users. Yes, I'm not saying everyone needs to go and work in the ecosystem, but certainly most of the opportunities will stand in understanding the bigger ecosystem and understanding how the models actually work, and then also making sure that that is relevant to the South African context. Professional behavior, there's a lot of, in fact, one problem that we have currently is that there's no real one law that talks to the use of AI, okay? But there are many laws that relate to your use of AI. There are laws that talk about privacy of information, POPIA, and cybersecurity. Those laws are very relevant in what you are going to do, or if you are using this information. There's also currently a big issue around the direction of legislation. So we know in Europe, South Africa tends to follow the European legislation models. In Europe, there's one law, but in America, it's all over the place. In fact, America is saying no laws, so it's a free-for-all. Now, there are issues around that because you, as a young intern, might not know exactly what should I be doing. That's one of the biggest problems. Worst case, even worse, nobody really understands what you should be held against. So let's say, for example, you were to do something that is not right or illegal in your work environment. It's not easy for you to be held accountable, and I think that's where your personal values and integrity and ethics should come into play, because you should know what is right and what is wrong. We spoke earlier about confidentiality. It's important that you keep confidential information confidential, especially that belongs to your communities. And to end, I think what I want to say is, whenever there are problems, right now we spoke about earlier, I think problems in the public sector, in your municipalities, in state-owned entities, there are wherever there's a problem or risk or concerns, there are always opportunities. And that's how I would encourage you, as you navigate the ethical challenges that are, maybe you might not even know that they are there, but as you navigate them, understand the opportunities. And even if it's 10% of you or less can recognize those opportunities that stand to be gained out there, I think we'll be doing great in the future as a country. Thank you.